Ladies and gents, welcome to our 24th Free Friday Lunch webinar. It is great to have you and for me to be able to share with you, and it's a privilege to be able to do that, honestly. Some thoughts on interpersonal relationship skills, although our session today will go slightly beyond that from a scope point of view. For those of you who don't know me, I head up Soldati, Southern African Leadership Development and Training Institute. A couple of housekeeping issues. Thank you for being here once again. If you wouldn't mind just muting unless you want to ask a question, preferably at the end. I will try and aim for 25, maybe 27 minutes, and then allow for some Q&A at the end. So please mail me if you want to be added to the distribution list of these invitations once a month, or simply just go into our website and register to be added for each of these sessions. Also, you're welcome to mail me afterwards if you want a copy of this recording, unedited. If you've got somebody in mind that you would like to send it to, by all means. Otherwise, just wait probably till the end of next week, and it should be listed on our website again as a vlog. And yeah, very important. And I would really like to ask you to send me future topics of things that you've battled with, challenging issues in your life, because that might assist me to add those as topics for other people to benefit from as well. Like I said, we're on topic number 24, and at some point I will run out of ideas and topics, so to speak. So just very importantly, my disclaimer is that I don't have the magic wand. I certainly don't proclaim to have that at all. But the idea behind these Free Friday Lunch webinars is to provide you with insights, to give you a different perspective, so to speak, as that picture illustrates. And in the hope, and my hope is that the different perspectives I give you, and I certainly don't have all the perspectives, but the different perspectives that you get out of these sessions will pave the way in your life, and if you pay it forward maybe in somebody else's lives, in order to live life differently better. And there's a reason why there's a big red dot, and that is simply to remind Hekkie to very explicitly say to you, purposefully, that especially as far as today's topic is concerned, I'm certainly not here to make you feel guilty. No, that's not the case whatsoever. If you've missed some of our previous webinars, please just simply go into the resource tab under Insights, and you will find all the previous recordings there. As always, I invite you to reflect. How does the content apply to your life? And how can you use it to live life differently better? And especially now, we talk about relationships, we have to realize, and we do realize, that 2025 is loading. We are in the festive season, or moving into the festive season, Christmas, New Year, etc. And when we talk about relationships, maybe a good time of the year is now to actually reflect upon relationships heading into the new year. And I want to reiterate that healthy relationships are important on different levels. Yes, first of all, if you're a religious person, with God. Secondly, with self. And thirdly, with others. And I would, if you're religious, once again, and all three of those areas of relationships apply to your life, I would submit that that should be that is also in the order of priority. God first, whoever the God is that you worship. Self second, and I'll explain that a little bit further just now, and others third. Not meaning in any way that others is not very important. So I really want to focus on relationship with others. In other words, interpersonal relationships, and that talks really to the topic of today. But I want to add, very importantly, relationship with yourself. In other words, intrapersonal relationships. And there's a reason why those two words, interpersonal and intrapersonal, look very similar. And in fact, you have to really focus on the first part to realize that, hang on, they are different. It's because both of those are very, very important. So let's start with the relationship with ourselves. Deepak Chopra, the Indian-American author, said, all relationships are a reflection of your relationship with yourself. I believe in this. If you don't love yourself, you will find it difficult to love others. I've never seen somebody in my life, I would be surprised if you have, that hates themselves but love other people. It doesn't work like that. We need to learn to love ourselves. Learn to love yourself. No, not worship yourself, no, but we need to learn to love ourselves. And I want to share with you a couple of aspects around, or more aspects around the relationship with myself, which I believe is critically important. And the next one is to beat or at least keep your promises. Tom Peters said, formula for success is under promise and over deliver. And when it gets to us, relationship with myself, it is critically important, I believe, that we do at least beat the promises to ourselves. As I said earlier, we're heading to the new year. And the statistics tells us, the research tells us that 80% of all promises that people make to themselves, you and I make to ourselves, gets broken very soon after 1 January. New Year's resolutions. So what does that do? If you break 4 out of 5 promises to yourself very soon after New Year, as an example, then how can there be trust? Which is something I'll get to a little bit later in terms of the fundamentals of relationships. But let's just focus on trust for a second. If I lie to myself effectively, how can I trust myself? How can I trust the single most important person that I should be able to trust, being myself? It's critically important that we keep our promises also to ourselves. Another aspect is the fact that you cannot give what you don't have. You can't pour from an empty cup. That's why it's so important to look after yourself. Also to ask yourself, as I've mentioned in earlier webinars, what are the life battery charging activities that I know I need to do in order to cope, in order to fill my cup? If we look at the definition of self-leadership, if the oxygen masks happen to drop out of the ceiling of the airplane because of a lack of oxygen, and you make the mistake of trying to help somebody else first, you might succumb, you might die before you actually are able to help them because of a lack of oxygen, let alone helping yourself to be able to survive. If I help myself, if I look after myself, if I make sure my cup, my proverbial cup is full, then I'm so much more in a position and able to be able to assist others and add value to their lives. And that's why I wrote a book on self-leadership, which, by the way, if you haven't got it, you can buy it off our website, soldati.com, because self-leadership is so critically important. Another very important, one of the most important aspects around having a relationship with myself is self-talk. How do you talk to yourself? Is it the option on the left, the negative one? If you have to perform and do something, present something, do something big? Or are you saying to yourself, you've got this, you can do this, you've done it before? See, we are not crazy when we talk to ourselves. In fact, if you don't talk to yourself, I would submit there's something wrong with you. We all do it in some form or another. And I love this quote from an unknown author, which says, self-talk is the most powerful form of communication because it either empowers you or defeats you. Jay Travis said, if you wouldn't say it to a friend, don't say it to yourself. In which direction are you flipping the switch in the way that you talk to yourself? Are you talking to yourself as if you are your own best friend? Hopefully you do. Or are you your own worst enemy? And talking about being your own best friend, you would recall that for those of you who are regulars, and thanks for being regulars, that I presented that in July. You can go and have a look at our website, and if you haven't seen it, look at that presentation. So it all starts with self, having a good, strong relationship with myself. So let's shift the focus to the interpersonal side. Let's talk about relationship with others. And I think here's where it all starts. Charity begins at home. When we talk about relationships with others, surely the strongest relationships outside of myself, and again, talking about interpersonal relationships, then must be with my inner circle. My husband, my wife, my life partner, my friend, closest friend, my kids, etc. Mother Teresa said, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. Very recently, somebody told me a statistic. Originally, I thought it can't be true. This person told me that 85%, okay, assuming that you have a normal household, unlike my kids that they had to for a very long period be with mom for a week and with us for the following week. So we didn't have a normal family setup, call it. But assuming that you got a united marriage and kids grow up with mom and dad, chances are that 85% of the time you've already spent with them by the time they've written matric. Across your whole lifetime, across the total time that you will be able to spend with them. Scary thought. After matric, only 15% of the time is left that you will be able to spend with them. And if you have kids at school, please use that as an invitation. If there's no more direct reality than this statistic, I don't know. But please use this to spend more time at home. One of the quotes, those of you who are part of my LinkedIn network get things like quotes that I think about and write about. And this is one that I sent out in April. Quality time together and effective communication are the food and water for growing relationships. And I firmly believe that. I want to talk to you about, let's move a little bit away from our inner circle, a little bit more away from home. The value of the right friendships. Critical. I've said before that if you have friends that are negative, that have and that cause you to become negative, they're like a ball and chain. They will cause you to drown. So make sure you've got the right friends. Critically important. Misty Copeland, who actually is a professional, was a professional American ballet dancer, said anything is possible when you have the right people there to support you. And the amazing thing about strong, good friendships is that not only are you there for those people, but they're also there for you. This is a book that I used as part of my PhD research. Love Mbeki wrote a book called The Spirit of African Leadership. And if we talk about South Africa and Southern Africa, he's from Zim. He's a local, so to speak, from a Southern African context. He wrote, it's in the courageous encounter of others that we discover our personal path and purpose in life. And I think there's so much truth in that quote of his. Versus I was alone on this earth. Imagine where I would have been then, as opposed to having interactions with people, as opposed to using the privilege of building strong, lasting relationships with people in all areas of my life. I'm talking about Southern Africa. In our region in Africa, and it's not prevalent in all regions in Africa, by the way, is the concept of Ubuntu. I am because we are. Simunye. And that's one of the reasons, not only because of our beautiful nature and animals, that John Hemingway wrote, if I've ever seen magic, it's been in Africa. Love this quote from Malcolm X, talking about togetherness. When I is replaced by we, even illness becomes wellness. Let's move a little bit further away from those who we know. Because the reality is we choose to cherish relationships, also with those that we don't know. And when last you give money to the people that you don't know, you might say to me, Hekkie, hello, stuff. It's okay. If you can't give money, that's fine. I understand that. But then let's talk about time. When last did you give time to people that you don't know, that you don't have a close relationship with? For example, donating blood. Yes, there are medical reasons why some people can't donate blood. I respect that. I donated blood 2 nights ago. Done it for many, many decades. I also want to say our whole family donate blood. It's a prick of a needle that can save a number of lives every single time that you donate. selflessness. And in saying that, by the way, I'm not saying for 1 second I'm the perfect example. No. Moving along, relationships with people that you don't know. When last did you compliment the chef? At some point, I traveled extensively in my life, you name it, in terms of continents. And whenever I went and I got an exceptional meal, I would ask the waiter to call the chef, who would then hesitantly move towards my table, thinking that, yeah, this oak's going to complain about his meal. And then I get up and shake that lady or that guy's hand and say, thank you very much. This is the best spaghetti carbonara, as an example, that I've ever tasted in my life. Well done, thank you. Cost nothing. You make that person's month, even maybe their year. People at a traffic light, don't need to give them money, no. But just show them the dignity of recognizing them. Show them, greet them with a smile, wave at them, even though you don't or can't give them something. And here's the secret, even to people that you don't know, and that's obviously not why we do it. We do it with the right intentions, but even with people that you do know, or don't know rather, in this case, if you give, it's amazing how you get back. Be the change you wish to see in the world, as Mahatma Gandhi said. Also, with people that you don't know, go beyond the obvious. Kofi Annan, bless his soul, he was a great guy. He said, we may have different religions, different languages, different colored skin, but we all belong to one human race. So true. This is my take on it, my personal quote, and I had a quote along these lines on social media recently that I put out that says, I'm more interested in the color of your soul than I am in the color of your skin or of your background or status in life or whatever the case might be. And I promise you, those people that are iconic figures also didn't worry too much about the latter that I've mentioned. It's about the principle. It's about the person beyond the skin, beyond the background, beyond the status. That's really important. My wife sent me this picture that she got on Facebook a year or two ago. May humanity be our race. May love be our religion. And I want to invite you to kill rude people with kindness. And sometimes to do that, you need to do the counterintuitive thing, the thing that really goes against your grain. But that's the invitation, that's the challenge, I suppose. Because when you do kill rude people with kindness, you bowl them, they don't know what to do because they're not used to this. And it also applies to choosing the counterintuitive response when you get to the taxi that pulls up in front of you or makes a U-turn. To instead of showing the wrong finger, to show them that finger. It's okay. I understand you're dropping off people, you're collecting people, you're bringing people to our work, reframing what you see in front of you. Collins Dictionary says counterintuitive is to seemingly contrary to common sense. And that absolutely applies 100% to relationships, ladies and gents. The time we waste from when that happens to when that eventually maybe happen is missed opportunity. Especially in your inner circle. Apply the counterintuitive response that actually goes against your grain at that point. That's actually against your natural instinct, let's call it that. To build a relationship, to grow, to set the example. Grow that relationship. See, it's about building strong relationships because that, as an overarching theme, I almost want to say, of life, is the super glue that holds things together. And I love this saying that I got off this website because to me it summarizes the fundamentals. Like I spoke about trust earlier in terms of not breaking promises to yourself. These four things, and yes, there are others, are the key fundamentals or foundational elements, if I can call it, to me around healthy relationships. Because it says here, healthy relationships involve honesty, trust, respect, and open communication between partners, and they take effort and compromise from both people. then that also applies to your suppliers, to your customers, absolutely to your colleagues. If you believe in building strong relationships, if you believe in partnerships. I want to talk to you about the value of networking. Brian Basilico said, relationships are the currency of business. Do you know when your customers celebrate their birthdays? Do you know when your key suppliers celebrate their birthdays or your colleagues, etc.? What am I getting to? I'm getting to the fact that we need to apply a little bit of more science to networking in order to make sure we build strong relationships with the people that are key in your life.
The developing world is going to leapfrog every other digital technology, and we're all going to meet in the palm of the hand.
Young people who are coming of age today, all they want to do is be connected, being connected to information and the connection to people. And that constant sense of connection is both empowering and utterly confusing.
Generation K is living in anxiety, but on the other hand, shows a lot of compassion.
But people mistake compassion with empathy. We are creatures that are meant to talk and are meant to develop empathy with each other when we do. College students show a 40% decline in every way we know how to measure empathy in the past 20 years. There's nothing wrong with our devices, but the way we're using them is hurting empathy, intimacy, and in the workplace, significant collaboration and creativity. I think more and more companies are realizing that they're paying a price for the empathy gap.
We are ready to witness the rebirth of the physical world. People are going to start thinking about, do I really want to sit here behind a computer screen making friends, or do I want to make some real friends?
The human strikes back to say, actually, I don't need 600 friends, 6 good friends is fine.
The trick here is to step back, to recognize that we're not in a virtuous circle, we're in a vicious circle, and to design for our vulnerability to this technology. We can create these places for conversation in business. We can create work cultures where it's not going to be rewarded to sit in your office and be the pilot in the cockpit.
One of the concerns with social media is the sheer disposability of human experience. Something happens, it's gone in an instant. Humanity will probably start hungering for a degree of permanence, a degree of something that lasts a little bit longer. But I think humanity fundamentally is a lot stronger than digital media.
So more than ever, now more than ever, let's carefully manage the things that could harm relationships, like technology, also in our family circles, social media. Doing too much of that, as opposed to in-person meetings, in-person webinars. You have to ask yourself, what can I do to cherish relationships at all levels? I have to ask myself that. The question might be, but Hekkie, where do I start, actually? Well, I think you might want to start with wiping the slate clean. Leaving the past right where it belongs, and that's in the past, and let it go. And maybe you need to forgive. Maybe I need to forgive, first of all, myself for things that I did, also to other people. Maybe I need to go and ask somebody for forgiveness. And maybe I need to, when somebody comes to us and say, I'm sorry, I need to forgive somebody else. You see, here's the issue. People think that if they leave grudges that are there alone, if they leave it unresolved, that it's okay. And here's the thing. People that do think that it's actually the other person's fault, and it's actually the other person that's the cause of this, even though they're also guilty. If you think that way, that's like drinking poison and expecting somebody else to die. You're actually drinking that poison. You're causing yourself to die. And here's the thing, talking about death, if that person dies, touch wood not, and I'm touching wood, then you are for the rest of your life can live with those regrets. Food for thought. Let go of the bitterness and the grudges. There's a beautiful quote from Madiba. As I walked out the door towards the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and my hatred behind, I'd still be in prison. One of the most important questions, ladies and gents, we need to ask ourselves is, what is the legacy that I'm going to leave behind? What is my legacy? And bearing in mind that my legacy is not my legacy one day, because I leave my office this afternoon, hopefully not, and a Patka bus T-bones me and I'm dead, then the legacy that I left behind is the legacy that I leave behind today. And I would submit that a lot of my legacy, the value of my legacy, will be based on the relationships, yes, that I had with myself, but also that I had with other people. C.S. Lewis said, you can't go back and you can change the beginning, but you can start where you are and you can change the ending. And that, ladies and gents, is the invitation to me, and that's the invitation to you. I'm going to end on that note, and I thank you once again for being here. Please register for our next Free Friday Lunch webinar. We are taking a break, as always, in December. And in January, I'm looking forward to sharing a few ideas around how do I define success in 2025 and beyond. And I want to add by saying, how do I make it a reality? If you haven't invited me to join your LinkedIn network, please do so. There's my details. And on that note, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to open up the floor for any questions, any comments, any criticism. I am 54 years old. I am happy with criticism. It assists me to become better and to grow and to deliver these webinars to you in a better format going forward. Anybody would like to add anything to what I've said? And believe you me, I don't know it all. You are also experts in your own right. Gert, I see you guys there. Welcome. Right. No comments, questions, anything? Ladies and gents, I would like to thank you for your time. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a super 2025. Thanks for supporting me and being able to share with you ideas around these topics. And I wish you all the best and look forward to seeing you in January. VP, I see that. Thank you very much. Either from you or Greg. All the best.
Thank
Have
you.
a super weekend.